Hola, estudiantes. Today we're going to talk about noun-adjective agreement, so make sure you have your note guide, your textbook, and a pencil. So adjectives. Okay, on your note guide you need to make sure that you fill this in. It asks, what is an adjective? An adjective is a word that describes a noun. And because we know a noun is a person, place, or thing, then we know adjectives are words that describe people, places, and things. Here are some masculine adjectives. Trabajador means hardworking. It would describe a masculine noun. Serio means serious. It would describe a masculine noun. And cómico is funny. It also would describe a masculine noun. Some feminine adjectives. Bonita means pretty. Perezosa is lazy. And alta is tall. These all would describe feminine nouns. So notice the difference. The masculine adjectives end in O mostly. Trabajador does not, so there are exceptions. The feminine adjectives mostly end in A, so keep that in mind when you're trying to decide which one to use. Please make sure you fill out the next part of your note guide that asks you to list some adjectives. Pause the video at this time. In English, the adjective almost always comes before the noun. Here are some examples. The serious students. Notice that the adjective comes before the noun. The adjective is serious and the noun is students. The pretty girls. Pretty is the adjective and girls is the noun. Notice that the adjective comes before. This is usually the case, almost always the case in English. But in Spanish, the adjective usually comes after the noun. So notice the difference. Instead of los serios estudiantes, you would say los estudiantes serios. The adjective comes after the noun. Because serios is the adjective and estudiantes is the noun, notice the position. Las chicas bonitas. Bonitas is the adjective, which comes after the noun chicas. Pause the video and fill in that next part of your note guide that asks you to describe that. Nouns agree in gender and in number in Spanish. It's a little bit different than in English, so make sure that you note the differences. Okay? There's a chart on your note guide as well that you need to fill in. Let's look at the singular side of the chart. We have a masculine example and a feminine example. El chico alto is the tall boy. So remember, the adjective comes after the noun, chico alto. Also, the word alto ends in O because it describes chico. It is singular and masculine. Look at the feminine side, or the feminine part on the singular side. La chica alta means the tall girl. Notice alta comes after chica. Chica is the noun and alta is the adjective. And also notice that alta ends in an A because it needs to describe chica. All right, let's look at the side that says plural. Here's where we need to make sure that our adjectives agree in number as well as gender. So the masculine plural, los chicos altos, means the tall boys. So notice in Spanish, not only do you have to make sure that your adjective is masculine, but you have to make it plural because your noun is plural as well. So because chicos is plural, altos has to be plural. So notice we don't make that change in English. You don't say the talls boys. You say the tall boys. So keep in mind that might be tricky. Look at the feminine plural. Las chicas altas are the tall girls. Again, altas comes after chicas, and altas must agree with chicas in both gender and number. That's why altas ends in AS. Chicas also ends in AS. Pause the video and make sure you fill in the chart. Adjectives that end in A are usually feminine, while adjectives that end in O are usually masculine. Examples, el chico simpático is the nice boy. Again, simpático has to agree with chico. La chica simpática is the nice girl. Simpática ends in A because chica ends in A. So, most adjectives that end in A are feminine and most adjectives that end in O are masculine. Adjectives that end in E match both genders. So, el maestro inteligente is the intelligent or smart teacher. Notice that the teacher is male. And la maestra inteligente is also the smart teacher. Inteligente not only describes a male teacher, but it also describes a female teacher. So, adjectives that end in E can be used to describe both a boy and a girl, or a man and a woman. Many adjectives that end in a consonant match both genders. So, for example, hoven is an adjective that ends in a consonant because the N is a consonant. So, many adjectives that end in consonants will go for both genders. So, el amigo joven is the young friend, and la amiga joven is the young friend. This case, it's a girl. Some adjectives that end in a consonant, you add a to make it feminine. So, for example, el hombre trabajador is the hardworking man. Notice this adjective ends in R, but to make it agree with a female noun, you must add a to trabajador. So, la mujer trabajadora means the hardworking woman. Notice that the consonant is R, and to make that agree with a female noun, you have to add a. If you want to make an adjective plural, follow these simple rules. If the adjective ends in a vowel, add an S. If the adjective ends in a consonant, add ES. Examples: las chicas trabajadoras. Because trabajadora ended in A, we added S to make it plural because an A is a vowel. Look at the one underneath that. Las chicas inteligentes. Because inteligentes ended in E, we had to add an S to make it plural. An E is a vowel, therefore add an S to make it plural. Remember, it must agree in gender and number with the noun. And because chicas is plural, your adjective must be plural as well. Let's look at the other side. Los chicos trabajadores. Notice the R is a consonant. Therefore, to make it plural, we must add ES. Los chicos trabajadores are the hardworking boys. Los chicos jóvenes are the young boys. Now notice that because joven ends in an N, which is a consonant, we have to add ES to make that plural. Los chicos jóvenes are the young boys. Make sure you're filling in your note guide as you go. You might want to pause at this point and make sure that you've caught up. Practiquemos. Let's practice. Número uno, we have ella es una persona and then a blank. They want us to say she is a funny person. Well, the word funny must agree with the word person. So, we have persona. We need to decide which adjective means funny. We know that's cómico. However, it must agree in gender and number with persona. So, our choices are cómico, cómica, cómicos, or cómicas. The best choice here is cómica because persona is not only feminine, but it's singular. So, ella es una persona cómica means she is a funny person. Número dos. Juan es un hombre. They want us to say Juan is an athletic man. So, our adjective, we know we want to pick the one that is atlético. But, do we need atlético, atlética, atléticos, or atléticas? Well, because hombre is a masculine singular noun, the best choice here is atlético. Juan es un hombre atlético. Juan is an athletic man. Let's look at número tres. Tomás y Juan son unos chicos. They want us to say that Tomás and Juan are some tall boys. So we know our adjective we need for tall is alto. Now alto must agree with chicos in gender and number. So do we want to use alto, alta, altos, or altas? The best choice here is altos because altos agrees with chicos. Tomás y Juan son unos chicos altos means that Tomás and Juan are some tall boys. Let's look at cuatro. Ellas son las chicas. They want us to say they are the pretty girls. We know our adjective is bonito. We need to make sure bonito agrees with chicas. So our options are bonito, bonita, bonitos, and bonitas. Well, because it must agree with chicas, the best choice here is bonitas, which would be ellas son las chicas bonitas. They are the pretty girls. Let's look at 5. Mario es un amigo. They want us to say Mario is a good friend. Well, our choice, we know we need bueno, but it must agree with amigo. So should we use bueno, buena, buenos, or buenas? The best choice here is bueno, because Mario is a good friend. Mario es un amigo bueno. Número 6. Ellos son unos hombres. They want us to say they are some hardworking men. Now be careful on this one. We know trabajador means hardworking, but we must agree in gender and number with the hombres. Therefore, remember, trabajador ends in a consonant. To make it plural, we have to add es. Because we're describing men, we would say, ellos son unos hombres trabajadores. If you have additional questions, make sure you see the notes provided on page 66 of your textbook. Make sure that you have finished your note guide and that is ready to